Hello, welcome to Wildwood Teaching. I'm Nicole Trevillas-Fravel, and we are in the midst of a series of videos on nature journaling. We started out with just a general video on the benefits of nature journaling. We talked about some book connections that you might want to use with nature journaling. And today we are going to talk about using the nature journals to explore art. And as I've been saying in the previous videos, that the reason I'm spending this much time on nature journals is that I believe journaling to be one of those anchor activities that you can use. There's no prep. Go out there, take the children outside. It's flexible. You can use it to build a larger outdoor routine. So we're going to give one example of that today in using the nature journal to explore art. And so part of what I eventually want the children in my program to think about is to think about how they want to capture what they are seeing, what they are feeling, what they are thinking, and how best to capture it. And so we like to explore different art media because different art media can provide different ways of exploring the exact same thing. So for example, simply by the nature of how they behave, right? If you were going to, say, use colored pencils to draw a leaf, right? So I'm gonna tilt my screen. If I use colored pencils to kind of draw my leaf, these are the options I have available to me, right? In using different colors, right? If I want to create some shading, or right, oil pastels are going to behave differently, right? So I can already tell there's some drag when I'm drawing it on the paper. I can use the colors to blend them. And that might help me notice different things about the leaf. Yeah, the leaf is green. Is it all one shade of green? What if it's a fall leaf and I look at it and say that it's a red leaf or an orange leaf? Is it really all red or all orange? And how do I know where the edges are? Or maybe there aren't defined edges. And that's something that I can achieve with oil pastels, whereas maybe if I'm looking at the leaf with my colored pencils, I'm paying more attention to the veins and the stems and the lines in the leaves. So we usually start out, when we introduce nature journals, we start out with something that the children are familiar with, right? Colored pencils, crayons, and the focus there really is on, what makes a good picture. We talk about color, we talk about line, we talk about background, we talk about capturing other things. How do you capture, say, the movement of the wind in a static two-dimensional drawing? And so we're really paying attention to the detail. We talk about how scientists pay attention to the detail. We talk about the difference between, do you want to be doing an art drawing or do you want to be doing a science drawing, right? So the art drawing, you're maybe capturing a feeling. The science drawing, you really want to capture the exactness of what you are seeing. And so what's your purpose in your nature journal at the time? And then we introduce different art mediums when it makes sense. So, we already talked about the oil pastels being really good for fall leaf colors. And that is usually the first additional art medium that I introduce to the children. And we do it around fall leaves because it makes sense. It helps us really think about the colors, and as they are changing in the leaf, that it's not one flat color where all of a sudden the leaves are green, now they're red. And then, pens are good if you really want to focus on line, right? Or shape in what you're doing. So, if you are talking about shapes and geometry, just because you have to be talking about shapes, pens might be a good thing to bring into the forest or into the fields, wherever you're going with your nature journal, to help children focus on that outline of what they are trying to capture. And we talked too about, veins in a leaf, maybe if pine cones are what you're interested in, again, capturing all those different spokes on the pine cone. And you'd say conversely, watercolors are good if you really aren't that interested in the shape, right? The watercolors are going to bleed into each other. And so watercolors are really good in the springtime if you want to capture color, or maybe a stormy sky. Again, where it doesn't really matter where the edges are, but what you want to do is capture the colors. We also, if I can find it, we also use charcoal pencils that I introduced to the children. Here it is. And this takes some practice. Because it's all about shading. And so, you want to ideally introduce charcoal pencils when you are looking at shades of the same color. So if you are, say, studying soil, or again, maybe that stormy sky that has clouds in it, or maybe you are looking at tree bark and talking about where the shading in, and this is a pressure. This is really good for fine motor. It's really good for practicing drawing, because you have to talk to the children about how different amounts of pressure are going to create a darker color or crisper lines on your paper. And so, we want children to have a lot of practice initially with the different mediums. And the eventual goal is that we would have a number of these options available to children when we go into the forest with the nature journals, and the children could be able to make a decision. Do I want to use the pencils today? Do I want to use charcoal pencils today? Do I want to use watercolors today? Based on what they're seeing, their perspective, and what they want to capture for themselves later in their nature journal. So this is really just the tip of the iceberg. So if you are interested in nature journaling, either because you want to introduce nature journaling to your children, or because you want to reinvigorate nature journaling that you already have in your program, or you want to explore, really fine tune, get to that intermediate advanced level where you're fine tuning your nature journal practice to talk about different art mediums, or to figure out how you are using your nature journal in other areas of your curriculum, maybe for science, maybe for literacy, then I encourage you to join us on March 19th for our live nature journaling workshop. There is a link below the video where you can sign up to join us. If you are not available on March 19th, that's okay. Sign up anyway. I encourage you to attend live, but we're all in different time zones, so it will be recorded and you can watch the session later and learn from it on your own time frame. And then next week, we'll actually be shifting gears here on our Wildwood Teaching videos, and we'll be delving into a series of videos on group time, story time, how to engage the children, how to keep their attention, different processes for doing this outside. I will see you there.